Is anyone else worried about Mercedes-AMG, or is it just me? I feel like they've been in kind of a weird spot in the last few years, and I kind of just want to talk about the state of AMG and where I think they're going right, but mostly where I think they're going wrong. So what is AMG, right? Well, when you think about AMG, at least a car enthusiast would probably think about a car like the W204 C63, or the E63S Estate, or the CL65 with the bi-turbo V12. They're big and decently heavy cars with a comfortable interior and a big old V8 or V12 that make a whole lot of fun sounds and pack a whole lot of power. Like, when you really break it down, the AMG formula is pretty simple. It's essentially luxury German muscle cars. In the past 10 years, Mercedes has started throwing the same 4-liter turbo V8 in all of the higher-end AMG cars pretty much, which many people don't like as much as the older engines, but they still make plenty of fun sounds and are a lot more powerful than the older ones. Then you've got the lower-end AMGs like the C43s and the CLA 45s that are using a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder engine with some AMG tuning flair. I actually like a lot of those models. I think they're pretty fun and decently zippy for the price, and I feel like some people might find those aesthetically a bit more appealing than the equivalent Audi S model, for example. But Mercedes-AMG also has a huge presence in Formula One racing, and they had the brilliant idea to make their next C63, which has always been a V8, a 4-cylinder hybrid, a very much dialed down version of the powertrain setup that they're using in their Formula One race cars. And who asked for this exactly? Well, pretty much no one, but now that car exists, right? And it's apparently so desirable that Mercedes is literally hiding it on their website. Like, if you go on Mercedes.com and look for the new C63, it's not going to be there because they are absolutely swamped with orders. They literally have to try to make less people know about the car because they're absolutely flooded with orders. The factory is in shambles right now because they just don't have enough parts to get these cars out. Apparently it's sold out for like the next 10 years. That's how desirable this car is right now. Yeah, I hope you realize that's 100% sarcasm. I'm pretty sure they don't want you to know about it because they're not exactly proud of it. Now, before I go further, just know that I cannot say whether this is objectively a bad car or not, at least in my opinion, because I haven't driven the car, but I have asked my Mercedes reps for one, and so if they don't hate me after this video goes live, then I should have a review of that car sometime out this summer, maybe early fall. But I'm not gonna lie, the idea on paper of going from a big 6-liter V8 to then a turbocharged 4-liter V8, which is still cool, and then all the way down to a 4-cylinder hybrid. Honestly, I don't think Mercedes and AMG really realized what the C63 meant to the car community because it was pretty much the only sub $100,000 German V8 sports sedan left. Sure, you have cars like the M5 and the E63, the S6, the RS6, and I guess the Porsche Panamera, but those cars are kind of like boats, right? And they're also pretty expensive. I'm talking about a real nimble German V8 sports sedan that you could obtain without being rich. You get what I'm saying? Audi took the V8 out of the RS4 and RS5 and put a V6 in after like 2015. BMW gave us our one and done M3 with the V8. And so the C63 was really all we had left for a while, but now it's got a smaller engine than a Toyota Camry. And to be fair, AMG isn't doing anything that other manufacturers aren't doing right now, which is making their cars bigger and heavier and justifying that with the more instantaneous acceleration you're getting from a hybrid setup. Pretty much everyone's jumping into that water right now. But I don't think anyone thought the previous C63 was slow to begin with, especially when you consider the fact that half the people buying these cars were tuning them. Like, I rarely see stock C63s on the road. A lot of them got downpipes and stuff like that. There are not many stock examples I've seen. Point is, they're fast. They're already pretty fast. And so all they really had to do was give us the same turbo V8, give us like 20 or 30 extra more horsepower stock, and then update the interior to match all of the newer Mercedes, and everyone would have been happy. No one would have had complaints. But they threw out the script, and I guess the real question is, why? Well, there was an interview with Top Gear interviewing the CEO of AMG, and he just asked him straight up, why did you get rid of the V8? Sir, please tell me, why did you drop the V8? Everyone on Earth loves it, and absolutely no one wants a 4-cylinder hybrid. Well, we like tech. I can drop a link below to get the full quote, but that's basically it. He said that Mercedes likes exploring new tech and that they believe in the hybridization concept. But credit to Michael for actually just straight up keeping it a buck and admitting that he knows no V8 lovers are going to want this car, but he just did it anyway. He was straight up just like, I know no one is going to like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now, I'll repeat again that I still have yet to actually drive this car, so I'll hold my full judgment for then. But so far, I'm not seeing a whole lot of green flags, you know, just a bunch of red hybrid symbols. But the C63 apparently isn't the only car losing the V8 either. Apparently our beloved E63 is going to be using a 4-cylinder hybrid setup instead of the turbocharged V8 we had in the past. And will it be much more powerful? Yes, more than likely it will be a lot more powerful, a lot quicker, blah, blah, blah. But it's also going to be a lot bigger and a lot heavier. And that'll leave the S-Class as the only V8 sedan in the Mercedes-AMG lineup. And that isn't really even meant to be like a sporty car, even in its AMG form. This is all unconfirmed, but assuming it is true, it's a big bummer, especially given the fact that almost every other performance manufacturer is keeping their V8s in their sedans that previously had them. Like, heck, even Cadillac is still keeping the V8 around. Like, a supercharged V8 at that. But let's switch gears and talk about the AMG V12, right? Most people who have an AMG car probably don't have a V12. That's just a fact, pretty much. But the V12 was always the car that you kind of strive for within the AMG lineup, especially with cars like the CL65, the G65, those are super rare, and most famously, the S65. These were monster engines that packed a whole lot of low-end grunt and growl and that crazy top-end power. These were amazing engines, but Mercedes is pretty much killing it off after their final S-Class V12 editions are done being produced, if they haven't already stopped producing them. The V12 within all of Mercedes is pretty much done, which is a shame, but also not surprising given the fact that pretty much everyone else is killing off the V12. Even Bentley is killing off the V12. But one could argue that Mercedes has the most amount of reasons to keep the V12 around compared to other manufacturers. Unlike BMW and Volkswagen Group, Mercedes always kind of had a more liberal use of the V12 in their cars. You'd only find a BMW V12 in something like a 7 Series, or a Volkswagen W12 in an S8, or a Bentley Continental. Mercedes was throwing the V12s in cars like the SL, the CL, the G-Class, and even coupe versions of the S-Class. And all Mercedes technically needs to do to keep the V12 in their cars is just legally justify its existence. But let me explain. Every car maker has to meet a specific emissions target across their entire company to remain emissions compliant. And so companies have to put out enough cars with little baby boy engines to justify keeping the cars with the bigger engines around. That's kind of just how it works. Lamborghini has somehow managed to do that with their lineup, which is going to be completely hybridized by the time the Huracan successor is revealed. And if they're able to meet emissions compliance with a lineup that only consists of V8s and V12s, I feel like Mercedes could technically justify keeping the V12 around in like just a couple of product lines. Think about like the G-Class and perhaps maybe bringing it back for the CL. I feel like that'd be absolutely epic to have a modern day V12 G-Class or a modern day V12 CL. That would be freaking awesome. I think it would not only be cool just to have the V12 back in Mercedes-AMG cars, but it would be Mercedes giving us like something special that they haven't really done in a while. The last special car you can really think of that Mercedes put out was, I guess, the AMG 1, which, you know, if you talk to some people, that car was kind of like an oopsie. A lot of things went wrong with the release of that car, and then you can think about like the AMG GT Black Series, but then that car is like nearly $1 million in value. Like 99% of people aren't going to be able to afford that. BMW, for example, at least has put out cars like the M4 CSL and the M3 Touring that are kind of special cars that are still very expensive and cars that an average person, including myself, can't afford, but still within that realm of like possibility for a normal person. You get what I'm saying? Mercedes just hasn't really done that in recent years. And so if Mercedes were to just come out of left field with V12 cars and some of their existing product lines again, I feel like they would be the talk of the town for like half the year. Will they listen to me? I don't know. Maybe I actually have zero clue as far as like what I'm talking about and why Mercedes can or cannot keep the V12 around, but I feel like they could do it. They could justify it. Another car that's just hitting the streets is the new AMG GT. And the GT is a car that a lot of people were into. It's technically a GT car for grand touring, but it's also AMG's only sporty sports car left. It's only got 2 seats and a big old V8 engine in front of you, a transaxle setup, so it drives very nice. A lot of people would kind of compare this and cross-shop this with a 911, which is obviously like the king of sports cars for a lot of people. It was the only purebred AMG sports car we had left. until they revealed the new one, which is essentially just a hardtop version of the 4-seater SL. It's like, come on, dog. Would have really been a burden to keep that platform around. Like, regardless of how well this new AMG GT drives, the new car is just going to seem half as desirable and special as the old one. And it also kind of makes this car just seem like another old man big AMG, especially now that it's got 4 seats and all-wheel drive, whereas the previous one only had 2 seats and it only had rear-wheel drive. Like, you can't even get a rear-wheel drive, like, more sporty version of this car. Like, what are we doing? Now, to be fair, I've heard some pretty good things about this car from the reviews that I've watched from a few channels. It's apparently monstrous and super quick in a straight line, which is to be expected, and despite it being bigger and heavier, it apparently handles pretty well too. But I've yet to drive the car for myself, so I'm gonna hold all of my judgment for then. And regardless of that, like I said, it was really the only true driver-focused sport AMG car we had left in the lineup, and now that's pretty much gone forever. But like I said, we'll have to see how it actually drives for myself, and maybe down the line they'll come out with a more driver-focused rear-wheel drive version that hopefully doesn't have a neutered V6 engine or something silly like that. I want to close this video out by talking about Mercedes-AMG EVs. I've gotten to drive a couple at this point, the EQS AMG, the AMG EQE, and the AMG EQE SUV. God, those names. And let me tell you, these cars are super quick, ballistic. They take off the line like a rocket. Like, they're super quick in a straight line. But outside of that, there really isn't anything AMG about these cars. And I get it, right? There's only so much of that performance sensation that you can carry over from an ICE vehicle to a new fully electric platform. I totally understand that. But what BMW and Porsche have done so well with their EVs is carry over the driving and handling characteristics of their ICE models. Like, the Porsche Taycan doesn't have a screaming flat six, but it still very much drives like a Porsche. And the same thing for BMW with their M Sport EVs. The AMGs are just lacking that refinement and fun factor that I've come to expect at this point. They have cool tech in the car and it makes a bunch of funky noises, but once you get past that, they're pretty meh. And their regen system that physically moves the brake pedal away from you as soon as you let off the throttle, it is just, oh my God, it is so bad. I hate it so much, and pretty much everyone else I've talked to about it doesn't like it. Pretty much no one likes this. So Mercedes, please stop doing that. I feel like that's something you can change. It's not too late to kind of fix that, because like no other EV I've driven does that, and it's so annoying. Every Mercedes EV I drive, I just despise it so much. Please fix that, please. But overall, I feel like the AMG EVs just need to spend some more time in the AMG division, because they just don't feel like AMG cars, despite their electrification and all the badges. They make a whole lot of funky sounds and stuff when you unlock the car, get in, accelerate, makes all kinds of weird noises. But outside of that, it just doesn't feel like an AMG car, quite honestly. But that's basically it for this video. Mercedes, if you're watching this video, in the small chance that you're watching this video, just know that I'm not making this video because I hate AMG. Yes, there's Porsches behind me. That doesn't mean I'm like some Porsche fanboy and that's the only thing I like. I love AMGs. Some of the AMG cars are some of my favorite cars ever made. That's a fact. But you guys are just doing kind of weird stuff lately, and I want to make this video in the hopes that I can start a discourse around where I may or may not be wrong, and where Mercedes can like fix some of the things that I'm talking about, and maybe take some of my ideas and thoughts into consideration, because I'm just your average car guy, you know? I'm not Mercedes' top customer, right? I'm not at the top of their clientele, but I feel like in some ways I might be speaking for the people, so to speak, the common man. There should be some more Mercedes-AMG reviews coming this summer, assuming I'm not blacklisted after this video goes live. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to support the channel, we have merch. This is just one of a few designs we have on the channel, so check it out, carswithmiles.com. And subscribe for future content like this if you want to see those Mercedes reviews when they go live, if they do. And that's about it. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.